Geography 10. Human systems and physical conditions and natural disasters. The environment shapes humanity. Human practices must adapt to the environments where they take place. Humans must cope with natural disasters. Preparation mitigates the negative impacts of natural disasters. Farmers must adapt agricultural practices to their environments. Crops must be selected that are able to grow well in the soil and climate of an area. For example, in Alabama, cotton does very well, but apples not so much. Cotton does well in the hot, humid environment, but apples require more cold days than you get at least in South Alabama. Farming on hills requires farmers to build terraces so that they have flat areas to plant crops. Slash and burning agriculture is an ancient technique. Farmers burn a forest and use the land for fields. Ashes fertilize the soil. Slash and burn agriculture is used in rainforests, such as the Amazon, and in rice-growing regions of Asia. The technique causes pollution from the smoke. Center pivot irrigation. Center pivot irrigation may be seen in the countryside around Dothan, Alabama. A long pipe on wheels pivots around a central point to irrigate a field. A NASA aerial image of fields irrigated using the center pivot method. This is over Kansas. Notice the square fields, but the round circles. The circles are where they're irrigating with the center pivot. Hardiness zones. Climate, in part, determines which plants thrive in a given location. The United States Department of Agriculture, the USDA, has an interactive online map that shows plant hardiness zones. And here we see the map. And you can tell that the purple and blue are the colder parts of the country. The orange and red are the warmer places. And it's standard by which gardeners and growers can determine which plants are most likely to thrive at a location. It's based on the average annual minimum winter temperature, divided into 10-degree Fahrenheit zones. And you can click on an area, like here around Dothan, and it shows us the Alabama map. Dothan, of course, is in the warmer part of the state, along with Mobile. Minimum temperature in Fahrenheit would be 15 to 20 degrees in zone 8B around Dothan. The colder parts of the state, up around Huntsville, that elevated part, will be around 0 to 5 degrees, and that's zone 7A. There's a little bit of 9A right along the edge of the Gulf Coast, a bit south of Mobile. And the minimum temperature there will be 20 to 25 degrees. So if you're a gardener, a map like this gives you an idea of what can and cannot grow in your area. Soil also determines the survival of plants. The soil may be amended or improved by farmers. By plowing in fertilizer, the field can be made better, the soil can be improved, and plants can grow there that otherwise might not grow. Soil types. Different plants thrive in different types of soil. The USDA has another web tool that helps farmers and gardeners know what soils are common in their area. It's the Web Soil Survey. Plant diseases. Some regions affected by certain plant diseases cannot grow certain crops. For example, the southeast United States is not a good choice for growing grapes because Pierce's disease, a bacteria that affects grapevines, is endemic in the region. That means it's found in the region. California is very vigilant in keeping Pierce's disease out of their vineyards. Infected vineyards are burned. Scientists are working to create grapevines that resist Pierce's disease. Natural hazards. Natural hazards such as earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, and mudslides force people to adapt and prepare for disasters. Know which natural hazards are possible and probable in your location, both at home and when you travel. Awareness is the first step in preparation. Earthquakes are caused when the plates that make up the Earth's crust move against one another. Earthquakes are rare in Alabama, but not impossible. Undersea earthquakes cause tsunamis, giant waves that may devastate coastal communities. Hurricanes are caused by the interaction of rising warm water vapor and winds. Hurricanes strike Alabama periodically, sometimes causing serious damage. Both the strong winds of the hurricane and the flooding that can occur have damaged areas of Alabama in the past. Deadly tornadoes often occur in Alabama. Tornadoes may strike with little warning. A tornado watch means that conditions are favorable for the formation of a tornado. A tornado warning means that a tornado has been detected. When you hear about a tornado warning in your area, you need to get somewhere safe, away from windows and outside doors, somewhere hopefully where you have a reinforced roof. A storm shelter, of course, would be perfect, but an inside room may have to do with short notice. Mudslides or landslides occur when an elevated piece of land loses stability and slides downhill. Landslides and mudslides are deadly. Dozens die annually from these disasters. Entire neighborhoods may be destroyed. California is prone to landslides and mudslides, although any hilly or mountainous area could potentially have a mudslide or a landslide. Preparation for natural disasters is prudent. Many disasters strike with little or no warning. It is better to have supplies and not need them than to need supplies and not have them. One must consider the most likely disasters in an area when preparing for disasters on a budget. Preparing for the end of the world as we know it is probably unrealistic. Preparing for a hurricane or tornado outbreak is both possible and wise for those living near the Gulf Coast. Storm shelters protect people from storms. Storm shelters are effective if people are alert and have time to take cover. A working weather radio is key to the effectiveness of a storm shelter. Without it, those in the path of a tornado may not make it to the shelter in time. Debris could block survivors inside a shelter. Water and emergency food should be stored in the shelter and rotated in and out to ensure freshness. Drills save lives by preparing people for disasters. When disaster strikes, there is no time to think about what to do. Everyone needs to know exactly how to react to the situation. Building codes. Building codes are rules that govern how homes and other structures are constructed. Building codes for public buildings mandate fire equipment, fire escapes, sprinkler systems, smoke alarms, and other safety features to be included for the safety of everyone using the building. Building codes for private homes require safe wiring and sound structure. Areas prone to earthquakes require that structures be built to withstand the motion of an earthquake without toppling. Stay or go. When faced with a disaster, people may have to choose between staying where they are or evacuating. Both choices may include their own dangers and drawbacks. Sheltering in place may be less expensive, but could leave one in harm's way. Evacuation includes the risk of accidents on the road, running out of fuel, and having a difficult time finding a place to stay. Evacuation may be expensive, and those with some health condition may find travel very difficult. I evacuated New Orleans during Hurricane Andrew, and the traffic going out of the city through the rain was moving fast. The cars were very close together. We were going over a bridge, over a long bridge over a body of water. If any one car had made a mistake and had a wreck, a lot of people could have died on the road that night. And people did die evacuating Katrina several years later. So evacuation is a dangerous thing sometimes, but it may be safer than staying in place. It's hard to know before the disaster strikes. Staying home in a disaster is called sheltering in place. Anyone choosing to shelter in place should be sure to have adequate supplies of food and water. Cleaning supplies, especially germ-killing wipes and chlorine, are important for maintaining sanitation in the aftermath of a disaster. Emergency supplies. Water. 1 gallon per person per day is the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, guideline. Hot weather may require more water. Remember that water is needed for more than just drinking. Water filters are a good choice for longer-term survival. Food. Select food items that do not require preparation and that remain edible without refrigeration. Things like protein bars. Power. Batteries are good. Solar panel chargers for mobile phones are also useful. Some emergency radios are powered with a crank and include USB charging ports. Don't wait until right before a hurricane is going to come through to stock up on batteries. They may be hard to find. Keep batteries on hand all the time. You never know when you might need to use them. First aid. First aid kits are available at most large stores. They include bandages and basic medications such as acetaminophen or Tylenol. Sanitation. Disease outbreaks after disasters are common. Chlorine, hand sanitizer, and disinfectant wipes are a good idea. Sealable 5-gallon buckets may be useful if the sewer system fails. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, advises people to text, don't talk in emergencies. Texts are more likely to get through if the mobile phone system still works, but that may be a big if. That was one of the first things to fail after Hurricane Katrina. Mobile phone connections are not reliable in a disaster. The phone towers are likely to lose power or be destroyed in some disasters. A battery-powered citizens band or amateur radio is a more reliable means of communication in a disaster. The use of an amateur radio requires a license from the Federal Communications Commission or the FCC. It requires a multiple choice test. It's not very hard to take. There used to be a requirement for learning Morse code, but that's been dropped altogether. So anyone could get that license, and it's not a bad idea. If you had a disaster you might really need to call out, and a ham radio lets you call out when all else fails. My ham radio call sign, by the way, is KD5RUI. Bug out. Evacuation may be the best option in some disasters. Families should prepare bug out bags or bobs that permit quick evacuation in an emergency. Any food in the bob, like protein bars, should be rotated for freshness. Bobs should include a change of clothes, water, food such as energy bars, toilet paper, prescription medications, mobile phone chargers, a first aid kit, flashlight, fire starter, cash, copies of ID such as birth certificates, cash including quarters for vending machines, a multi-tool, emergency blankets, emergency ponchos, a trucker's atlas, which is current with gas stations indicated, and a compass. In a disaster, if the mobile phone system goes down, you won't have mobile internet, and you may not be able to use your phone to find gas stations or to navigate. That's when old-fashioned map skills come in handy. In conclusion, people must adapt to the environment. Natural disasters are part of life. Most people experience a few. Fortune favors the prepared.